We will be starting soon. Hello and welcome everybody. My name is William. I'm your friendly neighborhood counselor today. And I'm so happy to be here with you all. Before we get started, I'm just gonna take a deep breath. I had to reset myself. So I'm so happy to talk to you all today because we're gonna be talking about bullying. And for those of you who do not know, every Monday and Thursday here at Washington Wellness Institute, we actually have one of our friendly neighborhood healers come on and discuss different topics throughout the month based upon the awareness of that month. And so for this month, it was domestic violence awareness. And so we had different topics among that. And today we're talking about bullying prevention. This one is a big one because I find that we have multiple situations now where bullying is becoming almost a part of our society rather than seeing it as an act of violence. And so I'm really happy to talk about today about cyberbullying specifically, um, and then also give you some tips and then give you some background information about it so that we can kind of revitalize the way that we look at bullying as well. And then I think I will give some tips at the end. I feel like what I'm going to be talking about will be doing two in one. But as always, I always love to give out more than not give out enough. So, um, if you have any questions during this talk, please post them in the chat. I will read them. I will make sure that I answer them. And you get free advice at the same time. So use it. Um, so I will start out with what is cyberbullying? So before we even get into cyberbullying, let's just go back to the beginning of bullying, right? You have, physical bullying, you have verbal bullying, you have social bullying, you have financial bullying. Um, there are so many different types of it, and unfortunately, we don't want to really break it down because we don't want to acknowledge the different facets of bullying. It's typically based upon the level of perceived power or a level of power put upon somebody else intentionally. And bullying is a very conscious action. And sometimes it's done unconsciously because of what the other person or the abuser might be experiencing within themselves. So bullying usually is an outcry of their own disability at that time. But we don't see it that way, right? And so this new era of bullying has changed. And I'm so glad that we've coined it as cyberbullying, because although I said online bullying, I think cyberbullying is a little better, just because um, cyberbullying is about bullying, but in a digital space. So it can be phones, computers, tablets, text messaging, social media, forums, online gaming. And we just think that it's just like social media, or you're just sharing and canceling people. No, it can happen. It's been happening for quite some time, ever since we've had cell phones, technically, or beepers. Some of you may not know what beepers are, but it is there, and we've had it, but it's never become this much of an issue because not everybody have the same level of access and exposure to this digital space that we have. And so some of the statistics that I'll be talking about, I was researching, they're from 2021. So I tried to go as recent as possible. But I will say that in the past 10 years, it has grown tremendously. They've even made Netflix movies and shows that bring to light the power of cyberbullying. So even in 2021, it was found that 73% of students felt that they were bullied in their lifetime, and that was from the National Bullying and Cyberbullying data. That is crazy to think that. So 73% of students feel that they've been bullied in their lifetime, and 44% say it's happened within the last 30 days. So this means that there is no barrier, right, into cyberbullying. If you have access to any type of digital space, phones, computers, tablets, text messages, social media, forums, online gaming, you are already set up to be a victim of that. And so it's important to understand how susceptible you are to a possible or potential threat to your existence. And I have to say it like that because people don't consider bullying as heavily until they're put in the position of the victim. Because a lot of times the abuser does not understand the power that they hold or the manipulation that they control. They just know that they have an ability to feel justified in their behavior. So, unfortunately, there's a lot of intergenerational issues with this. You have older adults that may think that cyberbullying is not as intense because you can just shut it off. You can just turn it off, or don't be on social media anymore. Unfortunately, the moment you are in the digital space, you are also agreeing to be connected with these people regardless. You have a blueprint now. The moment you're online, you have an internet blueprint, right? And so a lot of times this the cyberbullying, it follows them off the screen, right? So typically back in the day, you have a bully, they're there, you fight at 3 o'clock behind the parking lot, right? After school or something. And this, you don't get to just address it. It's shared, it's seen, it's memed, it's put into different sharing dialogues, group chats. It's sent into different people that don't even know you, and now they feel like they know you because of what you've posted or because of what they've shown, or they cropped your head out and put you on different things, or they edited photos, or they leaked some of your pictures of yourself that you sent to other people. That's why they talk about revenge porn. That's also a form of cyberbullying, right? So there are so many ways that this is so much more worse than before, because the power is now in the hands of anyone that understands technology. So your entire life or career could be destroyed because of how someone is creative with their technology or in their digital space. And the thing about the bully is that they can actually justify themselves by putting them in a trending view or perspective, so they seem like they're untouchable or they seem like they're more powerful. Why would someone with 50 followers believe somebody that has 1 million followers? That those things do matter. And you're in that generation, your followers are almost a form of credibility, and so it can cause a lot of damaging reputations. It can damage a lot of reputations, and people don't realize that it's hard to notice when you're getting bullied in such a very fast-paced society, and it goes unnoticed. And when it goes unnoticed, that's when the mental health starts coming in. That's when the adverse reactions and irrational cognitions or irrational behaviors or reactions start to happen. So I hope that was a good setup, right? And now let's get into the nitty gritty. Okay. So overall, about 36.5% of people feel like they've been cyberbullied in their lifetime, and 17% reported that it happened to them in the last 30 days. So remember what I said, in a recent study, it was 73%, right? In a newer study, it went down, but this was actually in a school that was it was a nationwide event, right? So let me explain. So 60% of teenagers experienced some sort of form of cyberbullying. 70% reported someone spreading rumors about them online. 87% of them, young people, said they've seen cyberbullying occurring online, and 95% of teenagers connected to the internet, and 85% of them are using social media. So let me just put these numbers, because I said a lot of numbers, right? So basically, what's being said, if you're looking at a multivariate, So basically, what's being said is teenagers, students, are abusers, they're victims, and they're witnesses. So let's break that down, which means that there are teenagers that believe that they have the power to change someone's life in a negative way because of their access and perspective and of themselves online and what they can do. There's another group of teenagers that feel like they do not have the actual power to actually stop what's happening because they don't have the type of support that they needed. And then there's another group of teenagers that are witnessing and watching somebody getting abused and watching someone abused, and they're not doing anything online. So how could they even do something when they're at school if they can't even find that power within themselves from their own phone, right? Beautiful Sadness 77 said, that's true. What's devastating is that a young lady from Canada named Amanda Todd was cyberbullied. It was an adult who sparked the bullying, to which she killed herself. Yeah. And I will get into that actually. There are so many cases where it's not even in your school anymore. You have strangers that will just inbox you or DM you or send you pictures, and they'll follow you, and they'll take all the things that you find special to you, and they will literally edit it, or they will use it and take advantage of it to discredit your existence. And there are people who are watching this happen, which means that there's a bunch of people that are scared to even express how they feel or who they are because they're afraid that they'll be next. So it's really important to understand that the fact that 95% of teens are connected to the internet, which means that means that there is so many kids that are susceptible to becoming this way, right? And the thing is that what makes this a problem isn't even the cyberbullying itself. It's the fact that all these kids are susceptible to it. That'd be like saying every kid in your high school, every kid in your high school that you went to, or every school that you went to, only 2 of those kids didn't smoke. So that means every kid in your entire school is smoking, which means all of them are in the hallway smoking. And so you just see a whole bunch of smoke just coming from the school or the hallways. And you're like, well, which kid isn't smoking? That's what I mean, is that there's a very small percentage of children who are not susceptible to that. And so, and it's not just children. So like adults are very much what makes cyberbullying so dangerous is that there's no age limit, right? There is no age limit on cyberbullying. So you can have adults that could completely just destroy kids. For instance, Call of Duty, playing that game, literally they had to ban a whole bunch of people because of how toxic the gaming community is. There is literally a terrible toxic culture in gaming. And so you have adults that can talk to kids anyway, and kids feeling like they can talk to adults anyway. And it's like there's no age limit on cyberbullying. There is no legal barrier to that because, you know, if they're a part of it, they can also be susceptible to it. So if there's unhealthy adults that are with children playing games, the kids are just as liable now to have to, support themselves. And unfortunately, in the U.S., 40% of adults have experienced some form of online harassment, and 75% of them have seen cyberbullying occurring around them, which means that that was from the Pew Research Center. So, like, if you think about it, there are adults that don't even know how to handle it because they didn't grow up in an era where this was an issue either. So adults and children are both going through the same exact issue of not knowing how to handle their susceptibility to the cyberbullying. So I wanted to kind of break some stuff down real quick. So we talk about all these things, right? But we don't really get into where and how it's happening. So what I love is that there is so much to go about this. So let me just get into this real quick. So we experience these issues of cyberbullying. I want to start moving into the mental health of it all. Okay, so this might be a little bit. So 9% of kids. So the issues that kids feel from cyberbullying, this is what happens to them. All right, so the issues that kids feel result from cyberbullying. So 9% begin abusing alcohol or drugs. 14% develop an eating disorder. 20% start skipping class. 24% stop using social media altogether. 25% engage in self-harm. 1 out of 4. 26% deleted the social media profiles because they didn't want to be, seen. They didn't want anybody to take anything. 26% also had suicidal thoughts. So the isolation, the depression, wanting not to be seen, getting away, not feeling like you're a part of something, which can cause suicidal ideations. 37% developed depression, and 41% developed a social anxiety. A social anxiety, which means that the thought of having to interact and being around a group of people actually was more alarming than them actually getting help. So this is like a digital pandemic, to be honest with you. So I would definitely consider the cyberbullying a digital pandemic. Please quote me on that because I think that this is going to get worse. I don't think that this will get better. And so we have to be more interactive in these communities. And so when I said, what are these communities? Let me talk to you about that. So where most people are cyberbullied. So about 9% are bullied on Twitter. 10% are bullied on YouTube. 12% are bullied on WhatsApp. 31% are bullied on Snapchat. Facebook, 37%. And Instagram is the highest at 42%. Unfortunately, what allows cyberbullying to exist even better is actually cancel culture. So cancel culture is a form of cyberbullying. We don't want to talk about, beautiful sadness, yes. Beautiful sadness, I think cancel culture enables that. Very much so. So cancel culture, what it does is it actually allows you to it actually allows you to, I hate to say it like this, but it gives you the right or the permission to be abusive without being held accountable. Because if everybody's doing it, then how are you going to catch me? It just makes sure that you don't go past what everybody else is doing. So I believe that everybody has their own ability to be a cyberbully by joining the bandwagon of cancel culture. And unfortunately, it is a level of it started out as a level of awareness by like saying like, hey, this person's wrong, we're not standing for that, which was a great concept. It started out great, but there was no accountability afterwards. And so instead of actually holding people accountable, it was more about getting rid of people, getting rid of something doesn't make anything heal or anything better. You know, posting a sorry for saying a bad word and crying on TikTok does not allow a level of accountability to be held. And that's what makes cancel culture kind of not unaccountable, because it doesn't actually process the intention behind the person. It doesn't actually hold the emotional responsibility that was expressed at that time. So I think it's very important to understand that these social media platforms are a great way to teach you how to become a cyberbully, or it teaches you how to become a better victim. See how I said that? So 69% of the people report having done something abusive towards others online, and 15% of people admit to having cyberbullied someone else online. It's very easy to do that when you're not in front of a person, right? Because you get to type what you think, you have time to formulate thought, you get time to see how you want to attack. You premeditate your defensive state, and you premeditate your reactive responses towards people. So that engagement, that onset of just finding something to be angry about or to be at somebody about, you're premeditating this abusive behavior. And that causes mental health symptoms that may be a little more deep rooted than we might expect. Also, just some things to consider. Over half of the students who identify being LGBTQIA plus have experienced cyberbullying at some point. Girls are more likely to be a victim of cyberbullying than boys, but overall, 36% of girls have reported being cyberbullied compared to 26% of boys. That's from the Pew Research Institute and the StopBullying.gov. And you know, so how do we go from online to physical, right? How do we adjust with that? So it was found by Florida Atlantic University that 83% of those who have cyberbullied have been bullied in person. 69% of those who admitted to bullying online have also admitted to in-person bullying. So what does that tell us? Is it only just, cyber fights? And so I think it's really important that we understand that just because they're away doesn't mean they can't see you either. And it's still relational at the end of the day. Bullying is a relationship based upon power and the misuse of it. So there was a study, and it was basically they wanted to understand why people get bullied. Why do people get cyberbullied? Why do people get cyberbullied? And so I'm going to read these statistics off real quick just to kind of give you a hint of why. So religion was 11% of why people would get cyberbullied. Financial status. Remember I talked about financial bullying? 15%. Sexuality, another 15%. Race, 17%. Academic achievement / intelligence, 25%. Other, for other miscellaneous reasons why, 20%. And then the appearance, 61%. People get cyberbullied for appearance. Hence why Instagram has one of the largest, which was, I think it was 42%. So think about it. In Instagram, what do? You post pictures, you post images that help define the perception of what you think you are and how people will see you. So if the appearance is 61%, that means that being seen is how you would become susceptible to that, which is why people might delete their profiles, or they might have multiple profiles, or they might have fake pictures, or they might delete their account at all because they don't want to be a victim based upon how they look. And so I think it's important to understand that if children don't feel safe at school, cyberbullying will be even worse. The adjusting to school, that makes it even harder. A lot of times kids that are getting bullied have headaches, they have trouble sleeping, they might skip school, they have really nervous feelings, their grades are highly impacted, and a lot of them have poor relationships with their friends and teachers as well. So there's a lot of isolation as a result of that. The accountability starts arising in parental control and peer support. So it's important to understand that there are behavioral symptoms, right? So if kids are shy, or if they fluctuate their grades, if they stop actually using their phones and devices, so like if they stop playing video games, or if they stop using their stuff, I said, well, I haven't seen you on your phone lately. What's going on? Because they don't want to be susceptible to that. They change their eating habits. They start hanging out with new groups of friends and people. Those are some of the biggest red flags. So be mindful about how much they're using it and how little they are using, because this is a normal thing in their life now. So I think it's really important. Or if you notice how, like, hey, can you go look at this real quick? And like they're like completely fixated on something, or they're jumpy when they're online. I think that's a big one. I've seen that happen a lot with a lot of my clients. I think in moving forward, I think the biggest way to help, ask your child, why is this person important? Why is following this person important? Or why are you hanging out with this person? What do they have that why you like hanging out with them? Understand the why and the how of why they want to hang out with them, and how do they want to hang out with them. Why do you follow them? Well, how do you want to follow them? Unfortunately, like, you have to be able to have open conversation, because digital space is very privatized, and that's a form of think of digital space as like before you get the keys to your car, right? When you can first get the keys to your car as a teenager, you're like, finally, I get my own stuff. I get to leave. I get to do what I want to do. It's kind of like that when they first get their cell phone, right? That's the first key. It's the first, they get to choose who they want to be and how they want to be seen. And if they don't understand what that means, you're setting them up, for a lot of exposure that they may not have been mentally and emotionally ready for, or socially ready for, right? Because social anxiety is a really big thing. So parents or guardians or friends of friends that are affected by this, some of the biggest things you can do is understand your why in your online relationship. So think about your online relationship as an actual person. Are you online because it makes you feel better for who you are? Does it make you feel more free? Does it make you feel trapped? Does it make you feel like you want to be more after looking at everything? Understand the reason why you have decided to experience this type of lifestyle. A lot of times we don't find ourselves online. We just find things that make us feel seen. And a lot of times when you feel seen, you will conform to keeping that feeling, which is why the whole cancel culture is so thriving, is because it allows people to be seen and allows people to be a part of a group. And it takes away the edge and pressure of feeling lonely or isolated, or feeling like you don't have a voice. You have other people that are speaking up about a topic that you can get behind because it seems genuinely right and justified. And so this type of exposure is really important to understand why they feel like if they don't have this app, or they don't have this program, or they don't have this messaging program, or they don't have this profile, they'll lose themselves. It's important to understand the relationship that you've created to allow a level of freedom from these concerns, because these mental health symptoms are a result of not being open about your relationship with your digital space. I hope that this really was informative for you all. Please stay tuned. Next month, we have a whole new awareness for the month. Remember, with your self awareness comes emotional responsibility. And as always, be kind to yourself. Make sure you follow us on Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and all the social media platforms.